Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Dux-Soup webinar. Today's webinar, How to Double Your Sales Funnel with Dux-Soup Turbo, is hosted by Giles Garnett, as usual, the head of professional services, and live chat is monitored by me, Kuzminskaitė, the head of customer support. Thank you for joining us today, and let's start our webinar.
Thank you, Jen, and hello, good morning and good afternoon or good evening to everyone, wherever you may be in the world. And thank you once again for joining us in the latest of our series of free Dux-Soup webinars. Now, today, as the title says there, double your sales funnel with Dux-Soup Turbo. That's pretty high expectations, but what we're going to do is basically walk you through the benefits of using Dux-Soup Turbo and how this version of Dux-Soup can help you take your LinkedIn generation activities to the next level. I will be referring to three relatively recent presentations that were presented for us. Let me see if I can find them now. I've now lost them. We've got three relatively recent examples. One was a guy called Scott Wright, who presented for us last year. And a lot of what we're going to be touching on here, he uses this in his day-to-day activities. I'm also will probably mention Mike Cohen. Some of you may remember his presentation from, I think, summer last year, back in May, June time, talking about personalization and really sort of making sure that you're reaching out with good personalized messages. And finally, one of our perennial favorites, Tyron, who's presented for us a number of times. I'll mention his name from time to time. If you look up those three guys on our webpage, so that's Mike Cohen, Scott Wright and Tyron Giuliani, you can find blog posts relating to each of their presentations, each of their webinars. Their webinars are of course available as well. So those are the sort of three people who I'm going to mention, and a lot of what I'm going to touch on from a functionality point of view are sort of touch points as to what they're using in their day-to-day activities using Dux-Soup in conjunction with LinkedIn. So for anyone who's new to Dux-Soup, all these webinars, and I know there are some new users every time, my name is Giles Garnett and I'm head of professional services here at Dux-Soup. And I've been presenting these webinars for around 2.5 years now. And I also run the booster sessions and the technical calls, as well as some of the booster calls, the support calls, I should say. So I may well have come across some of you and had direct dealings with some of you. And as always, I do my best to share my knowledge of Dux-Soup, the experiences I've picked up from users, both from my own activities and from interacting with first-hand users as well. As always, Jin, who you heard from at the beginning, our head of customer support, head of our amazing support team, will be monitoring the live chat and answering as many of your questions as possible. Do keep your questions on topic, as always, so they're useful for the entire audience. And if you have other questions, you can always contact our support team via the support pages. There's a live chat there, or on the email address info@dux-soup.com. And before anyone asks, because I'm sure there's been this question in the chat already, is there a recording? The session is being recorded and will be made available via the usual channels. As always, if you've registered, you'll get a link to the recording. So today we're focusing on Dux-Soup Turbo and the benefits that this can bring to your lead gen activities. And if you're new to Dux-Soup and have not used the product before, you will now find that if you download the extension, you get a no obligation 2-week free trial to Dux-Soup Turbo, giving you the opportunity to test the capabilities and functionalities that we're going to be touching on today. If you're new to Dux-Soup or Dux-Soup Turbo and need a starter's guide, have a search through our previous webinars on our website, and you'll see a selection of information there where we go through in detail how to set up your system accordingly. I'm not going to go through all the basics of Dux-Soup today, just a heads up now. So, but from a very high level, for anybody who is new, what is Dux-Soup? It is a Chrome extension. It's also compatible with other Chrome-based browsers, which you can use to mimic human behavior and automate that behavior on the LinkedIn platform. And that's both LinkedIn, the free version, the Sales Navigator, and the Recruiter platforms. You define your list, or you select the list that you want Dux-Soup to carry out your chosen actions against, and then you get them to run those chosen activities against that list. Remember, Dux-Soup is mimicking human behavior, and this is very important in keeping your LinkedIn account safe. So what we've done is designed the robot, as we call it, Dux Soup, to mimic the clicks of the mouse, etc., so that it looks like there's a human being running your LinkedIn lead generation activities. So what we'll move on to now is Pro versus Turbo, the functionality. We've touched on Pro a couple of times. I mean, we've done that in many of our webinars in the past, and I'm just trying to find the appropriate web page. Here we go. With Pro, you can send out your invitations. You've got the first degree messaging, tagging, downloads, etc. With Turbo, our 3 focus areas for today are the campaigns, the automated follow-ups, the Dux Dash, and our integrations. Very briefly, if I just bring this one across, hopefully that will appear. There we go. So if you go to our Dux Soup homepage and you go to the pricing section, you can see here quite clearly what is included in each edition of Dux Soup. And we can see there's the starter edition, the Pro, and the Turbo. And you can check here all of the functionality that we're going to be talking about and go there to get more information. So that's all available on our homepage. Excuse me. Okay, so we'll start with campaigns. We'll talk about those. We'll touch on the Dux Dash, and then we'll talk about our integrations, because these are the 3 big areas which really help to take your lead generation to the next level. So campaigns, what we're going to demonstrate today is how to define a campaign, how to enable a campaign, how to enroll prospects into a campaign, and how to monitor that campaign, the success or otherwise. But what do we mean by a campaign? A campaign is basically a set of predefined messages that you send to your new or existing first degree connections. You can define as many campaigns in Dux Soup as you want, defining the delays of the messages according to your requirements. The importance of sending messages out to your network or to your new connections cannot be underestimated. So many people have a really extensive first degree network that remains either underutilized or neglected. Make sure you're using the opportunity to engage or re-engage with those people. Some of the people that we talked about earlier, so Mike and Scott especially, have touched on this. If you don't reach out to people, you don't know if they're the right sort of person in your target group, or if they're interested in your proposition or offering. And with Dux Soup Turbo, you can create multiple campaigns, enroll who you want in whichever campaign you want, and then get on with your other activities while Dux Soup sends out all your messages for you. If someone responds to you, and we'll talk about that as well, it then blocks automatic messages going forward. And then it's up to you to manually intervene, of course, to then take that discussion to the next level. Something that's been talked about a lot is when composing your messages, think about making it as easy as possible for your prospects to reach out to you. You know, perhaps including a way for them to make an appointment with you and that sort of thing. So Mike and Scott, who presented last year, are big advocates of building your messages as personal as possible. And that's where the multiple campaigns comes in handy, because you can build messages or campaigns according to the industry. Remember, every industry is different, and with every country and region in the world, there are very different levels of expectations with regards how you communicate. I just grab my LinkedIn page across, so hopefully you can now see my LinkedIn homepage. There we go, let's go home. Anybody who's new, this is me, this is my LinkedIn page. Feel free to send me a connection request. I say it every time on every webinar, and I usually get a pretty good response, and I will interact with people if they send me a message. Send me a message, send me a connection request, explain how you found me, but this is me, this is where you can find me on LinkedIn. So what I'm going to do is show you how to build a campaign. If we go to our Dux Soup icon up here in the top right hand corner, so you can see I've got a turquoise icon. That means I've got Turbo. And if I go down to the bottom right hand corner, this gives me access to what we call the Dux Dash, the dashboard if you like. And this is where we can, with Dux Soup Turbo, we have this menu, these menu items here on the left hand side, where we can define our drip campaigns. We can check the progress or the success or otherwise under the funnel flow, and we can see all the other activities that are going on as well. So if we want to build a campaign, if I click on this drip campaigns button here, we then get to see all of the campaigns that I've defined. What I've done is previously I've created a webinar demo one here, so I'm going to use that one for now. So you can see here, it's very easy to just select your campaign, and you can see exactly here how it's composed. We have a connection request. We then have a follow-up message, which will go out 2 days and 10 hours in this case after they've connected, and then another 8 days or 7.5 days after that, I've got a third message here as well. Now, this is a connection request with a follow-up messages campaign. We don't have to have a connection request in there. We can build a campaign which will just go out to our first degree connections as well. And this is where you have lots of flexibility in how you build. I spoke to somebody the other day who's got in excess of 50 campaigns defined. I mean, that's a huge number, but you can basically tailor each of your campaigns to each of your target markets. And as mentioned before, as mentioned in previous webinars, we've got these markers down here, which you can use to make your messages look more and more personalized. Remember, you're still limited by the LinkedIn limits of the number of characters in your message. So you see here under the connection request, you've only got 300 characters here that you can use in that message. Once they've accepted your connection request, or if you're sending out to first degree connections, of course, you then have 3,000 characters that you can use in your messages. So that gives you a much more extensive possibility for reaching out to your connections. So what I have here is I have a webinar demo campaign. Now I could add further messages to this campaign just by hitting the plus button. What I'll just do is I'll just very quickly copy and paste that message into there. And then I could say, well, yeah, I'm going to send that message out maybe a week after that message. So I've got one after 10 days and then one after 17. And you can see here, you can build up your campaign bit by bit up to a total of 12 messages. If I press save, then that campaign is now saved. I've got a connection request and 3 follow-up messages. So that's how we can define our campaigns. And as you can see here, you can build more campaigns and you can see exactly what's what there. In a minute, we'll come on to show you how to enroll people into that campaign. But while I'm in the Dux Dash here, on the left-hand side, I'd like to show you the funnel flow, because this is where you can go to measure how your campaign is progressing. For some reason, that's loading a little slowly, so I've already loaded it up here. So let's drag that over a second. Here we go. There we go. So here, for example, I've got my drop-down box here of my various campaigns that I've got defined, and I can see here. You can also select your date range, so I can see here exactly how many people I've enrolled, how many I've invited, the number that have accepted, number of follow-ups I've sent, and then also the number of people that have responded and then qualified in or qualified out. And the great thing with this is you can click on each of these blocks here and see exactly who those people are. We'll just wait for that for a second to load. There's quite a lot of data there. So 545 prospects and conversations from segments accepted. I could now copy and paste that data into a spreadsheet. So that's very easy to get that information out. I can also, if I require, just click on the LinkedIn icon here on the far right-hand side and go straight to their LinkedIn profile. And if I click on this arrow here on the left-hand side, I can then see exactly what message I sent and when they accepted my invitation. And indeed, if they replied, if I go to this column here, this block here, what we have here now is we can now see if they've replied to me, what they replied with. So here, for example, I take this example, there we go. I can see here that he accepted my invitation, and then I got a response from him as well. So we can then see exactly those incoming messages and then decide what we want to do with that. Because of the stage that somebody responds like this, they may still have some queued up messages. And what you can do, if that's the case, is you can hit the reflow button here to make sure they continue to get those messages. They may respond with something that you then need to manually reply to, and you then get into a direct conversation with your prospects. This is all about managing how that communication flow goes. And the funnel flow here hopefully helps to give you that visibility, who's responding, who's not responding, and what you do with those people who respond. Do you then need to manually follow up, or do you need to release more of those automated messages that were the scheduled to go out to them? So that's our Dux Dash as well, which where we can see our drip campaigns and our funnel flow. Now, to enroll people into a campaign, you have a few options. Now, of course, the most common being if you just carry out a quick search within either regular LinkedIn or Sales Navigator. If I could just do a quick people search here, very simple one. LinkedIn not necessarily cooperating. There we go. So we've now got a very quick people search here. And what you'll notice here on the right-hand side is we've got a little Dux Soup widget, which has appeared. And if I click on there, you can now see I have the opportunity to enroll people into my chosen campaign. Now, if I look here, I've got various different campaigns. I've got my webinar demo one there. Now, because I've currently got this defaulted to Growth Hacking English, another campaign that I defined, if I just go to my Dux Soup options a second, let's open it there, so bring that one over. There we go. If I now change my default campaign here to my webinar demo one, I apply my invite, so we can see there my invite has been applied correctly there. And if I go back to this page and reload it, what we should see then is that my webinar demo campaign will be the default one from that drop-down menu on the right-hand side. So there we go. I can now enroll people into this campaign. And I can do that a number of ways. I could either individually enroll these people, and that would then queue that activity up on the server for that to be carried out according to my throttling settings. Or I can just click up here and I can say, yep, enroll these people into my campaign, or indeed visit and connect and automatically enroll them at the same time. So I've got a number of different options there as to how to enroll people. This works exactly the same in Sales Navigator. So if I just very quickly go to Sales Navigator, this a regular search result. And again, we'll get the little widget appear here on the right-hand side. There we go. So you can once again see here I can enroll people. And if I decided I didn't want to enroll them, I don't have to. Or if I wanted to enroll them into a separate campaign, then I could of course select that from the drop-down box there on the right-hand side. This widget is only available on a regular search. It's not available in some of the more complex lists that Dux Soup handles, such as the comments or the like results, for example. But this gives you that extra level of control as to how many people or how many invites you're sending out per day, because you can then scroll through your results, and as you scroll through, you can choose who exactly you want to enroll into your campaign. So that's how you can do the enrollment there. You can also enroll people one at a time. So if we just open this profile here a second, just as an example, you'll notice here on the right-hand side where you get your Dux Soup tricks open here, where you see your tags as usual. You can then also individually choose to enroll somebody into a campaign here as well accordingly. So you can do it one by one as you open campaigns, as you open profiles. So those are the various different ways of being able to enroll people into your chosen campaigns. And remember that you have the opportunity to enroll first-degree connections into campaigns as well. So if you've got a list of first-degree connections and you want to maybe send out some sort of a bulletin or a drip campaign to those people, then you have that possibility as well. So bear that in mind when you're building your campaigns, reaching out to those first-degree connections. Now, just to go into a little bit more detail in the Dux Dash here, so we've looked at the drip campaigns and the funnel flow. We can also see, for example, our queued activities. Now, I've got some queued activities here, some auto visits to some profiles, which I'll come on to in a little bit, which will explain under some of our integrations. But this would basically then show all of your queued up campaign messages which are waiting to be processed. And it would give you the timestamp here on the left-hand side as to when they will be processed. The timestamp after which they'll be processed. You'd also see information about the campaign ID here, if that was what you wanted to, if you needed to sort of see that information as well. So all that's available there. And you can also, if you click the arrow there, if there was a message being sent, you would see the text of the message. You can even have the ability to be able to delete items from this queue, so you don't have to, if you don't want to send a message out to somebody, you have that level of control as well. So you can remove those items from the queue. Here under the activity log, there's a historical record of the messages that you have sent out. or the invitations that you've sent here. So you can see here, for example, invitations going out, you can see enrollment activities going on and other messages going out as well. This is an historical record of everything that's been carried out and tells you whether this activity was successful or not. So occasionally, if there's a problem when the page loads up or whatever in the LinkedIn environment, you may see a false here, but it would give you an idea as to why it's failed. But all of these activities are controlled by yourself insofar as who you invite, who you enroll, and then Dux-Soup listens out for the acceptance of a connection request and then queues everything up subsequently. So that's the Dux Dash. That's kind of how you can configure your campaigns, how you can compose your campaigns, and really the devil here is in the detail of how you build your campaign, what your strategy is in building a campaign, how many follow-up messages you need to send, the psychology behind those messages, and making it really easy for your prospects or your target audience to be able to reach out to you and be able to understand where you're coming from in what you're trying to achieve or what you're trying to engage them with regards. There's endless possibilities here, as I say. I've seen some people running in excess of 50 campaigns, which I would imagine from an administrative point of view is quite a handful, but you know, these things are possible. And then what I want to move on to next is our integrations. So with Dux Soup Turbo, with the API that's provided with the Turbo product, we have a number of different integrations. The idea begins with being able to make your end-to-end lead generation process as complete as possible for you. So whichever platform you use, there's likely to be a solution for your requirements. We've got a direct integration with both HubSpot and Pipedrive CRM. We've got integrations with Zimplify and LeadFuse, which are platforms that can help you scale up your lead gen activities and provide additional levels of detail with regards to the data that you can gather. That's something that LeadFuse looks at, particularly with regards to email addresses and company information. But for really increasing the possibilities of integrations, you can use the webhook functionality, and we've integrated therefore with both Integromat and Zapier, which are platforms that bring together literally thousands of different environments to help you put your data where you want it. Now, I was trying to work out what would be most valuable to look at here. So for today's demo, I thought, I've not shown it for a while, so I'll show the HubSpot demo just to illustrate how that works and how that looks within the HubSpot environment. If I was to demonstrate all of these, I think we'd be here until tomorrow. Basically, the HubSpot and Pipedrive integrations work in exactly the same way. It's a way of getting your LinkedIn contacts or prospects into a CRM environment. And you can achieve the same sort of thing using Zapier or Integromat to pretty much any other CRM environment. We did find one this week that wasn't integrated yet, but that may be changing soon, hopefully. I was in contact with somebody who'd found one that wasn't integrated. So if we just go back to my Dux Dash a second, I'll just bring that back across. See here on the left-hand side, we have this option down here, the CRM Connections. And this is where you can configure your the plugin, if you like, or the connector between Dux-Soup and your Pipedrive account or your HubSpot account. And as you can see here, I've got both enabled at the moment. But we're going to look at the HubSpot account primarily here. So here I've got this option here to enable or disable that, and I can create and update contacts from connected profiles. I can also disable this. I can turn that off, and I can also put in some other filters. So maybe only profiles that are tagged, or maybe all profiles that I view, I want those to appear in there. I can also create timeline events for LinkedIn messages, and I can also update contacts after connecting. So if I just grab my HubSpot environment and bring that one across as well. So we can see here, this is my HubSpot environment. This is my list of contacts within HubSpot. And if anybody was paying attention earlier, we would have noticed that we had some queued activity here. So these here are some auto views of profiles that are hopefully currently being added to my environment. So we see there's one that's just been opened here in the top right hand corner. And if we look, it should be opening up that activity as we speak. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, that should be running. So it should be loading that, and in a second the individual's details will appear in here. So these are new contacts that I've made in the recent past, which are currently being updated here into my HubSpot environment. And you can see here that some of these have been entered in today. The other great thing with this integration is, you see here, we're getting all of this information coming through from LinkedIn. Anything with LinkedIn here, LinkedIn ID, LinkedIn industry, LinkedIn profile, that's all data that's coming through Dux-Soup and being brought in automatically. And if I just click on this one here, this is Jin, our head of customer support. Apologies, Jin, I'm going to be bugging you again with some messages. What we have, because we've got this the direct plugin, we have also the ability to send messages or carry out actions from within our CRM here. So we can see here I could enroll Jin into one of my campaigns. If I click on here and I click enroll, I can now choose which campaign I would like to enroll her into. So if I, for example, enrolled Jin into the webinar demo campaign, I can do that, and that will then queue up an enrollment to her LinkedIn profile. That will then enroll her into that campaign, and she would then receive those appropriate messages that are associated with that campaign. I could also send her a message, just a direct message, exactly the same way. Here I can just I can do that, and as before, I can still use those markers that we were using in our messaging before, so keeping this very personalized. You can also see here that you would also get any incoming messages visible here. I can just click on this hyperlink to go straight to a message that's been coming in from my prospects as well. So you see all of your incoming messages. Dux-Soup listens out for those incoming messages and populates those within your CRM environment as well. And as you can see here, there's been some more auto views been going on, so I suspect I'll have a couple new contacts in my environment. We go back there. So look, so there we are. I've got a couple of new contacts that have been added in here over the last few minutes as those auto visits have been happening in the background, those ones that were queued up here. If we just refresh this page, we should probably see some of those have been, there we are. And you can see here, I'm enrolling, I've got that enrollment activity there for Jin, so she'll get enrolled into that campaign and get those subsequent messages. And then I sent a message as well, so you can see here there's also my other message queued up to go to her in due course. And if I don't want them to go out, I can just delete them. But this way you can actually send out all of your communication, you can monitor your incoming messages and everything from within your CRM environment and have that full visibility. The Dux Dash, this funnel flow gives you a sort of an instant visibility who's responded, and then the CRM is where you can really take it to another level, especially if you're using other data sources and needing to share that information with other users within your CRM environment. So you have these possibilities as well. So those are our integrations. If I just go backwards a little bit, can I go back? Nope. Let's go this way. Let's just go back here. So what we've talked about here is the difference between Turbo and Pro. We focus particularly on the campaigns and the automated follow-ups, the Dux Dash and the integrations. We've talked about how to define a campaign, how to enable it, and how to enroll people into a campaign, and then also how to monitor it as well. And then we've touched on a very light touch on some of our integrations here as well, particularly looking at HubSpot, but the same can be said for, especially for Pipedrive. Zapier and Integromat's a little bit more complicated because you have to build everything based upon the exchange of data through webhooks and sending remote control commands. But with the integrations that we built in those environments, it's all pretty intuitive and fairly straightforward to follow. And we have a lot of information available on our website under our blog pages, which you can look at. It's 5:30 and I'm quite conscious of the time, but just a little preview for you for the next couple of webinars that are coming up in the next few weeks. We're on a series of 2 webinars where we're looking at managing multiple LinkedIn accounts and looking at a couple of different environments and different possibilities. So one of them will be looking at the Amazon Light Sale environment, how easy that is to set up with an Amazon Light Sale account, how you can create basically a server to run everything on and supercharge your lead generation if you're looking to scale up. If you're looking on a slightly different end of the budgetary scale, shall we say, and you need to do things in a slightly more cost-effective way, you have the possibility of using something such as a Raspberry Pi. I mean, we can also talk about Chromebooks as well, maybe, but a Raspberry Pi is a very low-cost device, can be picked up for as little as $30, $35, and you can run a Dux Soup account from such a device and have that running 24/7 headless, so you don't have to have it constantly connected to a monitor or anything. You can just leave it running and just log on remotely every now and then to sort of monitor the progress. It's a really low cost, effective way of being able to do your lead generation. You need to do a little bit of work up front, of course, to configure the device and set everything up and et cetera, but it's just an alternative way of being able to use the technology and proving that you can do it in different environments rather than it being tied to your laptop, which you may need to keep free for other activities for your day-to-day work. I've been talking for long enough, so Jin, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions. One of the questions would be, one user really wanted to see if how Dux Soup sends direct messages without adding them as a campaign.
Okay, so sending a direct message to a first degree connection.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, there's a couple of ways to do that. If you're doing it from within the CRM, I showed you how to do that just now with regards from HubSpot. But if you want to see how to do it from within regular, from within the regular environment, let me just grab that screen across and I'll just show you that very quickly. So say, for example, you have got your, everything's a little slow today, so there we go. Let's go to my network, my first degree connections. You always need to have your list of people that you're wanting to send your message to, and how you define that is up to you. Loads of information on filtering and searching. But if I'll tell you what, let's just do a quick search here. Let's just do developer. There we go. Just do a quick developer search, and we'll just do a search for people. And we're going to say, well, we're only interested here in first degree connections, of course. So there we are. I've got 212 people on this list. There's all sorts of ways to create this list, of course. But if you wanted to then send each of these people a first degree message, if you go to your Dux Soup options here, I'm going to turn this off because I don't want to be sending these people, well, I can't send these people a connection request. If I just want to send these people here a message, a direct message, this option here, the third one down, send a personalized message to first degree connections. I can use it in regular LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, or indeed Recruiter. And I can here type in my message, and I can again use the markers to make it look personalized. Oh, that didn't work. I obviously pressed a back key. Anyway, hopefully you get the idea. There you are. I've now got this message, hi_FN. What you have here then is you have, let's turn that off. Basically, this is where I have defined my first degree message. So here I've got my message defined. So I'm going to turn a few things off here so I don't do anything I don't want to do. There we go. That's my first degree message. And now if I wanted to send this out to everybody in my list here I've got my list of first degree connections. All I would need to do then is press the visit profiles button here. And during that auto visit, Dux Soup will carry out this action because this is my chosen automated action that I would then have running against this list. And that's the easiest way to send out a direct message to your first degree connections.
Thank you. There were quite a few questions with regards, can we run multiple campaigns at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. You can have people enrolled into all sorts of different campaigns. As I showed you earlier, if, for example, I wanted to enroll some of these people into my default campaign, I would select default and enroll. If I wanted to enroll them into something else. Now there's a little trick here. You see there's a little duck icon. It's quite small probably. If I zoom in a little bit, maybe that'll make it a bit easier. There we go. You see the little duck icon. The little duck icon here means that they've been enrolled into a campaign in the past. And if I click on this button here, I can see which one, because you've got the little asterisk by it. So I know that this person has been enrolled into the default campaign before, so I can't enroll him into that one again, but I can enroll him into any of the others. And I just can do that and press the enroll button. And you can have them all running in parallel concurrently, no problems at all. But you can see, if I scroll down, you can see here, some of these people have been enrolled into campaigns before, some of them haven't. But that way you can actually choose which campaign you want to enroll them into, and that can be left to run. And Dux-Soup will just adhere to the rules that you have defined in each of your campaigns. Let's go back to our drip campaigns here. So here we are, I've got my default campaign here, which is basically a blank connection request with a thanks for connecting. But if I look at my growth hacking one, I've got a slightly more extensive connection request with some follow-up messages, various other different ones here, which you can define as you like, and you can have them all running in parallel if you want. It's just a case of making sure that you enroll the right people into the correct campaign.
Thank you. Another question, I guess this is from our beginner user. How do you decide to whom you want to send a campaign? How to filter, basically?
Okay, so how to filter, that's that's an entire webinar in itself. But hang on a second, let me just try and grab something, because this may be of use and this gives me an excuse to share this. Let's have a look. What am I looking for? So if we go to our Dux-Soup homepage and we go to our blog pages here, and here we've got our search facility at the bottom here, and if you just type in, for example, filter, hopefully, we have here a blog which is one of our most read blogs, and this is actually, I think it may have been updated relatively recently, but yeah, this basically gives you an outline as to how to search and filter with LinkedIn and Dux-Soup. Gives you all sorts of tips as to how to use the advanced search filters, etc., in both regular LinkedIn and in Sales Navigator and Recruiter. It also shows you how to use the Boolean search terms, so you can use Boolean search terms, which are and, not, and or, to be able to exclude or specifically include certain words in your search. And then there are all sorts of other bits and pieces as well, because you have Dux-Soup skipping options where you can use what we call a regular expression to exclude certain certain words from your search result. There's a previous webinar about this which you can watch, but this is the best way to, this is probably your starting point for being able to filter and search your lists accordingly. And this is where I would start out if you're looking to filter your leads, to really be able to narrow things down. There are ways to build custom lists as well, if you're interested in all the different lists that Dux-Soup can handle. If you go to this one here, using LinkedIn lists with Dux-Soup to boost your lead generation. This one as well basically outlines all of the different lists that you can use that Dux-Soup will recognize to run against. Just as an example, so this here is a list because the Dux-Soup icon has turned green. If I go to my home page, and in a second, if I go to, for example, this one here, where 7 people have liked this, we'll notice in a second that we'll get the at your service pop up in a second, because Dux-Soup will recognize this as a list that I can run against as well. So different lists as well, different ways of being able to use that. But this blog post here is a really useful resource for being able to work out exactly which lists are the best ones to use and the different places to find them, because there are all sorts of different ones: alumni lists, employee lists, post likers, shared connections, all kinds of other places. And of course we now have the Recruiter functionality as well, whereby you can also use Dux Soup against project lists in Recruiter. So we're constantly looking at how we can increase the different lists that you can run Dux Soup against.
Thank you. I'm currently looking at other questions. Just give me 2 seconds, please.
No problem. You do that. While you're doing that, I'm going to use the opportunity to share this page as well. This page here, feedback.duxsoup.com. This is where you, as our user base, have the opportunity to be able to suggest new functionality or changes to the functionality. You can have a look here. You can see what's been suggested already. You can upvote what's here and add comments if you require. You can sort by what's the newest, which have been most recently suggested. So here you can have a look and see what's hot and what's hopefully going to be implemented in the coming period with regards to Dux Soup. We review this on a fortnightly basis, so we are regularly looking at this. We sometimes have to merge things as well because we see some overlap with regards to suggestions. But have a look at this page. It's feedback.duxsoup.com. You can have a look there because we need to take in, we always take into consideration our users' requirements, of course. And if people need functionality, we try and listen to that and fulfill those. Have you found any further questions, Jin?
Not at the moment, sorry.
Okay, not to worry. In that case, I'll just go back a slide. No, can't do that. I'll do it this way. Oh, no, I will mention very quickly, if you require additional help, one-to-one help with regards to your lead generation activities with Dux Soup, you can book either a booster call or a technical call through our website or contact our supports team and they'll provide you with the links. Booster sessions are if you're starting up from zero, if you like. Technical sessions more if you're getting more into the webhook side of things or integrations with other pieces of software, other platforms. You can book those through our website. That's everything for now. I will speak to you in 2 weeks' time when we'll be touching on Amazon Light Sale and running multiple accounts. Lost the word. I'll leave it to Jin to sign off and speak to you all in a couple of weeks.
Thank you everyone for attending. If you have any further questions or if I missed any of your questions, please go to our website. We have a live chat option, or you can always contact us via email. Also, you can find our email on our website. So thank you so much for attending today, and hopefully we'll see you on the next webinar. Bye-bye.